Hello everyone, my name is Chris and welcome back to another game review. Today I'm gonna be reviewing Darksiders 3, and as usual I'm quickly gonna go through the story of this game to tell you in short what the game is all about. Then I'm gonna share my opinions and thoughts about the game and its gameplay and its visual representation. So yeah, if you didn't play this game, just click away from this video to avoid spoilers and come back after you play it if you want. If you don't want to, that's totally okay. But if you really are interested right now in my opinions and thoughts about this game, then stay with me till the end of this video and let's get started. Alright guys, so Darksiders 3, it's a game that's been released in 2018, it's been developed by Gunfire Games in Unreal Engine, and it's a hack and slash type of a game. Story of Darksiders 3 is going on before majority of Darksiders 1, but it's also happening parallel with Darksiders 2. So story of Darksiders 3 puts us in a boot of Fury, which is the only female horseman out of 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And at the beginning of the game she's summoned by Charge Council and sent on the earth to hunt down 7 deadly sins that's been unleashed upon the earth, and she has to hunt them down and kill them to establish the balance between heaven and hell on earth. So now when Fury arrives to the earth to hunt down 7 deadly sins, Charge Council with her sended also a watcher to watch what is she doing. Also at the beginning of the game, War, which is a horseman that we play with in first Darksider game, is accused of some crimes, and they don't really trust him. They interrogate him. Charge Council interrogates him, so they don't really trust Fury either, so they send a watcher to watch her work. And as the story goes on, Fury starts to hunt 7 deadly sins. She hunts few of them before reaching the rat sin. Once she arrives face to face with rat sin, she engages in combat with him, trying to kill him as well. But in combat she summons her horse called Rampage, and when she summons her horse, her horse is stabbed with angelic swords and unfortunately killed. So Fury goes really mad and she's now really Fury. She kills Rat, but unfortunately she doesn't use the talisman to trap it in, so every time she kills one of the 7 deadly sins she has to use the talisman to trap those sins inside it. After that she loses that fight, and Lord of Hollow summons her to his realm and gives her hollows, which are basically powers that you collect through the game that you can use later, and he keeps weaponizing her through the game, and the story gets more and more suspicious down the road. You don't really know why Lord of Hollow is weaponizing Fury, or what is really going on, who killed her horse. And then she realizes that something weird is going on. She feels betrayed, but she doesn't really know who betrayed her. And then as the game goes on, you hunt other deadly sins and meet other characters through the story. By the end she figures out that the watcher that's been following her through the entire game is actually the envy sin, and she used Fury to hunt down 7 deadly sins for her, so she can use the talisman to destroy Charge Council, which is also one huge traitor, and all 4 horsemen were really loyal to Charge Council. And unfortunately Charge Council doesn't want to bring balance. They want to use horsemen in their own purpose, which is something that Lord of Hollow was warning Fury about, but she didn't really believe him. And in the end it's just one huge betrayal for Fury. She's been betrayed by the Watcher, which is actually envy, one of 7 deadly sins, that wants to destroy Charge Council, but also Charge Council wants to do something for their own purpose. They don't want to bring balance, as they said to Fury, so they lied to Fury that she needs to go and hunt 7 deadly sins to bring the balance between heaven and hell. So there is no balance, nothing. They just want to use Fury to get their own causes. And in the end Fury manages to defeat Envy, and she promises that from now on she will be protecting humanity, and that's pretty much the entire story of Darksiders 3. So Fury in the end finds her true purpose. She's been lied through the entire game, everybody lied to her, she's been betrayed, and finally in the end she decides to do the right thing, which is protect humanity, because humanity is the one who is a victim of all this, of this entire war, and she swears to protect it. So yeah, my opinion on Darksiders 3 story is that it's not really bad, but first two games kind of had a little bit more interesting story in my opinion, but story is far from that bad in my opinion in Darksiders 3. It's pretty cool, I enjoyed it for what it was. It took me a few moments to realize something, what is like going on. Sometimes story is not really clear, you can't really figure out what's really going on. You ask yourself many questions, but you get answer on almost all of them till the end of a game. And yeah, I don't think the story was trash. It was solid story, but I feel like previous two games had a bit better stories. So yeah, that's just my opinion, but altogether not a bad story. Alright, well, let's move on to gameplay of Darksiders 3. So Darksiders 3, as I said, is a hack and slash game, which means that this game is based on your skill of like pressing buttons on your mouse and keyboard. So combat is basically based on a few buttons. You dodge with shift, you can lock on your enemy with caps lock, you switch targets with T from enemy to enemy if you want to have a lock on them, and with left and right click of the mouse you use your whip, which is Fury's primary weapon and strongest weapon in the game, and with the right click you can use one of the hollows that Lord of Hollows gives you through the game. Also, these hollows can be used for many different things. They can be used as tools to climb walls, to get to certain areas, because through the game you meet a lot of these areas where you have some frozen walls and or those like areas that you can't reach without those hollows, and you don't really understand like what is up with that until you actually get that hollow and game explains you what you can do with it, and then you can go back to that area and just break the wall with, for example, your force hollow, or you can climb a wall by jumping on it with your status hollow. You know, entire game is like that. You can just go back to certain area and reach the parts you weren't able to reach without these hollows. Just classic hack and slash type of a game. This is something that pretty much every hack and slash game has, and this is not an open world game. It's a linear game, but the linear world in this game is made up of many areas that you visit through the game. It feels like an open world, but it's not an open world. It's a linear game, and you just go from area to area, and you can reach Vulgrim Point, which is in the same time your checkpoint. And once you reach that Vulgrim Point, your game saves over there, and Vulgrim is a guy that you can trade stuff with. You can sell and buy shards, which are some sort of maybe healing items, or strength shards maybe, for example. They are used to deal more damage in combat, which are pretty useful when you're fighting a boss or something, that are really challenging in this game. Entire combat system is pretty simple in the game, but in the same time it's pretty challenging. Some bosses are really pain in the ass. Then you have those small enemies that are pretty easy to kill. Then you got a little bit stronger enemies that can block your attacks, dodge quicker. So there is a lot of different demons and enemies you fight and meet through this game, and all of them they have their own strength and weaknesses. You just have to find the best tactic to kill them, but most of them are like easy to kill unless these bigger enemies which require to use your Havoc. Basically what Havoc is, it's a little bar that fills up at the top left corner of your screen, and then when you press Z you can take this Havoc form and deal fuck ton of damage in a low amount of time, but you can have this Havoc form for only limited period of time, maybe like 10, 20, 30 seconds maximum. Also, there is this rat explosion that you can do. It's also filled up by punching enemies and killing them. Once you fill up the red bar, you can use it to deal more damage for a few seconds. Basically, weapons are just your abilities and what you get through the game. You also have this boomerang that you later obtain through the game. You can use any of these hollows to enchant it with by holding the middle mouse button and then throw it. Also, boomerang can be used as a tool to take down, for example, sometimes in this game you'll see those stones that are like purple color, and you equip the force hollow, for example, enchant your boomerang, you throw it, you break that little like stone, and shard will fall down that you can pick up. Something I really miss in Darksiders 3, and I'm really sad to see they removed, are finishers. Because in first two games, when you damage your enemy enough above their heads, there would be a finisher icon, and then you press a button and your character will do a cool animation and finish off your enemy, which was an easier way and cooler way of killing your enemies, and those finishers were pretty cool and awesome to watch, and they were completely removed in third game. Also, minimap was removed and replaced by with compass. And another thing that I really miss in Darksiders 3 is horse riding. In first two games you could summon your horse whenever you wanted and ride it around the map, and that's the thing that misses in Darksiders 3, because Fury's horse is dead and you got no horse, so she's a horseman without a horse, which absolutely does not make any sense. But yeah, you can ride a horse in Darksiders 3. They're really based on walking, running, and using your hollows to get from one area to another. I mean, that's something that was in those previous two games, but they downgraded the game with some stuff that I really miss and I really enjoyed in first two games. Oh yeah, and boomerang is something that existed in the first game, and now seeing that again in the third game really feels recycled, and I don't really know how to feel about that, because in the first game you also have a boomerang that you can throw and use as a weapon. You can use it as a tool to solve puzzles. This game also has puzzles that you have to solve through the game. Puzzles are way less challenging than in previous two games for some reason. But yeah, just that thing with a boomerang in third game again, it really feels recycled. There is basically a lot of locations, little secret locations in the game that you uncover by breaking walls and using those hollows as tools to get to these shards. Also, shards can be found in just by breaking boxes or something like that. It's always good to break some boxes and vases here and there. You never know what you're gonna find inside. And yeah, it's pretty simple upgrade and sell and buy system at the Vulgrim points. Also, you can level up your Fury, and you got your inventory. You can level her up. You can level up your health, your damage, and your arcane, which are spells. Then, if you go back to Ultane, which is one of the makers in the game, he looks human, but he's really huge, like a giant, a big muscleish human. Those are basically, they're not humans, they're called the makers in the game. I mean, they are humans, but they are not. I don't know how to explain it. Anyways, if you visit this guy, you can upgrade your weapons, you can upgrade your hollows and your whip. You can also upgrade enchantments that you can put on your weapons. And it will take some silver of Adamante or angelic shards or demonic shards to upgrade your enchantments. Those can be also obtained at the Vulgrim point. You can buy them for souls, and you can find them through the game by breaking boxes and stuff like that. So pretty much everything can be bought, but in the same time it can be found through the game. If you invest some time in breaking boxes and exploring the area around you, you can find these things pretty easily laying around. Also, in this game, money is no value. Like in previous two Darksiders game, you collect souls. So every time you kill an enemy, he's gonna drop some souls, and he can also drop some health, which is in some sort of it's called Nephilim Respite. So this game won't heal you. You have to heal yourself, and you have a certain amount of Nephilim Respite that you can hold to you. But also, as you progress through the game, you can hold more and more of these. You find some sort of upgrades that you can pick up, and then you can hold more Nephilim Respites on you. And you just click R button, and you can heal. So this game requires you to heal, requires you to be careful when engaging with enemies. Combat can be challenging, even though it's pretty simple. You can still die really easily if you're not careful. I love the gameplay. Those hollows are probably one of the most interesting things to me. You know, each time you obtain a new hollow, you always wonder, what is this hollow gonna give me? What can I do now with this hollow? Because, for example, with a status hollow, you can walk on the water, it just freezes under your feet. With a force hollow, you're some sort of a gravitational core, and you're really heavy, and you can jump into the water, and you can run underwater, walk underwater, fight underwater. And then there are those huge rolls that you can find, and you crumble into a ball and just roll, and then so every status hollow is in the same time weapon and tool from getting to one area to another. So the way this game works, it's pretty simple. I like its gameplay. It's just really classical hack and slash gameplay. Also, I realized that they removed almost all RPG elements. For example, Darksiders 2 had a lot of RPG elements. You could find new armors that you can equip on your character, and there is no such a thing with Darksiders 3. They really minimized RPG elements, which I'm really glad to see. In my opinion, this is really good because I'm not really a guy who likes RPGs. I'm not really an RPG guy, and seeing something like this was okay in my opinion. But for some people this could be a huge downside and letdown, but in my opinion it was very good and I enjoyed it. I totally enjoyed the gameplay of this game, even though it can be really frustrating. I remember in Darksiders 2 you had the crow that could show you the way you need to go, and with Darksiders 3 that crow is removed. Now you play as different characters, so you don't have that crow. You have a little compass at the top of the screen, and that compass can be such a pain in the ass sometimes. I sometimes was completely lost in this game. I was looking for a way to go for like 30-40 minutes sometimes. It was sometimes really frustrating, and that's one huge downside for me in this game. It took so much of my time. And then I remember once I was at one area and I needed to climb the wall that I was not able to climb from the side where I was. So I have to use a serpent hole to travel to the other serpent hole to get to the other side of that wall, and then I realized where I need to go. And it's really confusing sometimes. That compass is just such a huge pain in the ass. It's really bad sometimes. Altogether, I enjoyed gameplay of this game. It had some downsides, definitely. It had some downgrades compared to the previous game, but those downgrades, like removing RPG elements, was okay in my opinion, and I enjoyed it. I had no problems with that. Some people who are maybe fans of RPG elements will dislike this completely, but altogether it's one really fun hack and slash gameplay, just smashing enemies. It's always fun when a bunch of enemies comes at you and you just destroy them, and it's really interesting when you upgrade your weapons and your character, and you just get stronger and stronger, and then you go to the area where enemies like weaker, and it's so much fun to just destroy them. When you remember, it was really hard to beat them at first, but later you got stronger, and now all enemies are easy to kill, so you can always go back to the areas, collect souls, farm souls, and then go to Vulgrim, level up, trade souls. And yeah, it's one really fun gameplay, and it was fun experience with some downsides, but yeah, altogether not bad. I really enjoyed it. Alright, now for the end, visual representation of Darksiders 3. I can say that Darksiders 3 definitely does look better than Darksiders 1 and 2, but just like Darksiders 1 and 2 back then, this game also doesn't look any special. And that's something I always liked about Darksiders series, you know, it's a game that was meant to be played on almost all computers, so pretty much everyone can run this game on all ultra settings in 60 FPS without any problems. It's a game that's well optimized, there is no frame drops or anything, you don't need any buffy PC to run this game, and that always was kind of a Darksiders thing, you know. They always combine that art style with graphical design, computer graphical design, and it's all nicely wrapped up together into one game. I love the way monsters look, I love the way they designed levels. It's pretty creative way of using these hollows and moving through the environment. Everything looks nice and clean. What I a little bit dislike is that camera angles can be sometimes really terrible while fighting, and you really can't see what's going on your screen. Also, when sometimes using some of your special abilities, there is too much effects on the screen and you can't really figure out what is going on, and you can die sometimes because of that, especially in boss fights, which can be really frustrating. But altogether, graphically, game doesn't look bad, also in the same time not really impressive. It's just a game that's meant to be fun to play, and so everyone can play it. You don't need any nerfed PC for this. I ran this game on all ultra settings in 60 FPS, even more. And I have AMD RX 560 and 4GB graphics card. I got FX 8328 core Black Edition processor, and I have 16GB of RAM, Kingston Fury, also Black Edition. So this is not really the strongest PC for today's games. It's somewhere in the middle. Again, depends from game to game. I can run most of the new games on all ultra settings in like 30, 40 FPS. Some games I have to lower a little bit down with quality. But for Darksiders 3, it was totally fine. It smashed it. So yeah, that's something I really love about this game. It never required, all three games never required a nerfed PC to be played, and it's still enjoyable, and you can still enjoy the world and everything. So yeah, not bad at all. Alright guys, so that was it for this Darksiders 3 review. If you enjoyed it, then go ahead and leave a like, share, comment, or subscribe if you want. Let me know down below in the comments what are your opinions on this game, if you played it, and what are your opinions on my opinions. And if you want, you can join my Chris Facebook group. Link is also down below in the description, together with my as.fm, where you can leave any questions if you have any questions. And yeah guys, I love you, and I'll definitely see you in the next videos, and Chris out.